Angelo can't scream. So I spent 30 days teaching him how, and now he's about to play his first show.
How are you feeling about tonight?
Very nervous.
I don't know what happened, and I just completely... Sorry.
But first, how did we get here? In 2019, I started teaching screaming, and my first video got millions of views where I mentioned teaching a student to scream in a month. I was in heaven, or so I thought. One of my old teachers made a post saying it was unreasonable to scream in 30 days and to not trust the advice of anyone who wasn't classically trained. And this was pointed at me. I felt really embarrassed. I looked up to this person, and it sounds like they hated me. I wondered, was I a scam since I didn't go to school for the voice? Would this post ruin my reputation? I was so embarrassed, I almost stopped teaching right there. But the results of my students didn't lie. I also just loved teaching. So I recently thought to myself, could I teach someone to scream in 30 days, document the entire process, and get them to play a live show at the end of it to put their abilities to the true test? This seemed like a super cool and fun idea, but little did I know that I was in for an extremely wild ride. In order to make this work, I would need someone who is a complete beginner and someone who is local. I wanted to film this in person because honestly, I just thought it would make for a funner, better video. So I sent out a Facebook post asking for people local to San Francisco to see if they wanted to learn to scream. If they were interested, they would fill out a form. I sifted through the applications. Most of the people had some type of screaming experience. But I came across an applicant by the name of Angelo. He wrote that he wants to learn to scream because
it's by far one of the coolest means of self-expression. I've been trying to learn on and off for the past few years, but I've just been put off by how bad the sounds are that come out of my mouth.
The petty side of me was cackling with joy. I thought if I got him to scream, this would definitely prove my point that anybody could do it and prove my past coach wrong. Angelo lived in a small town called Patterson, which was only an hour away. It was also helpful that he played guitar in a band, so it seemed on paper like it would be pretty easy to book a gig for his band to get him to scream live. I wanted to confirm in one last way that he was the right fit. So I decided to pay him a visit and trek to his place in Patterson. Hey, what's going on? So we are in Patterson, California, and I'm going to be meeting with Angelo, who's reached out about wanting to learn how to metal scream. He's been a struggling musician that's wanted to do this for a while, so I want to see what we can do, and hopefully we can get him screaming ASAP. Oh, okay. Wrong house. What's going on, man?
Hey, dude.
How you been?
I think I might have told you the wrong number. So you said you were coming to the door, so I was like, oh, I better.
Yeah, dude, I was literally about to be like, oh, Angelo, you look so different.
How's it going, man?
When I get to Angelo's place, I notice that his family seems oddly disconnected. I try to politely say hi and don't get a reaction, and I think, that's kind of strange, but then I move on. Dude, this is awesome.
Thank you. This is where I reside.
Dude, this is fantastic.
When I get into Angelo's room, I see a 3D printer, many guitars, drums, and a bunch of anime posters all over the room.
So you're a man of culture.
A little bit, yeah.
Dude, look at that. That's amazing.
I wanted to get a baseline starting point for where his screams were now. I asked him to do his best to cover one of his band's original songs.
There is no reason.
Wow, I can't even continue after that.
I'm afraid I'm wet. The chains you put me through.
This is great. This is great.
I've tried my best to fix this.
It sounded like Mickey Mouse, bro. My heart rate slowed after knowing you guys heard that.
His screams were definitely starting from scratch, and he was someone who seems to have a self-limiting mindset that he wouldn't be able to scream.
I think maybe the biggest halt that I've had is just this habit of not doing things. I totally recognize that, I haven't put as much time in as I could have, and I've seen what that can do if you actually sit down and do things, how it can affect progress and stuff, and I see that, but it's still is not enough to make. Yeah, it's like you can actually see it with my YouTube channel. There's like year intervals between videos, even though I have, like 20 songs that I have lined up for covers.
In other words, Q is the perfect candidate to really blow minds if I were to get him to unlock his scream. He even looked the part. So far things were going smoothly, so we agreed to get started in the next week.
How's it? Not too bad, man. How's the drive?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Angelo drives over to my place and I begin teaching. In just a few short minutes after explaining to him the general anatomy of screaming, I get him to do a few short exercises, and he's already starting to make progress. He starts to make the beginnings of scream sounds. Okay, so that vowel might be a little trickier for you. Let's try that with A again. That was good. So it seems like that for you might be sort of like the approach that I want you to practice on, specifically for chest voice fry screams. So now let me introduce you to head voice fry screams. So what I want you to do is, can you crack your voice like this? When you're above that voice crack, that is a vocal range known as your head voice. So could you tell that was like, much higher than you're talking?
I can feel it transition for sure.
Now try and do this and use your hands because it makes for a better video.
Okay, sounds good.
That was good. Try to hold that. That was good. Did you hear that?
Yeah.
That feel comfortable?
Yeah, I think that really helped.
That's what I'm saying, dude.
Wow.
You gotta really get in character. Let's do that again. So far, everything's going super smoothly, so I decide to speak with my connections from the local metal music scene and book a gig for Angelo's band, Haunted Mask. Let me know if we can confirm this as soon as possible. I do like the sound of that. Mark us down, and I will make it happen. The countdown for Angelo's show now officially began. The day of the second lesson, Angelo texts me and said that he might be unable to come. I start to panic. Due to my busy schedule, if we don't see each other, then I won't be able to help him until next week. This would essentially put us a week behind schedule. So I offer that he could spend the night at my place if he can get to my place late. Fortunately, this allows everything to work out. Angelo gets to my place, but I notice that something's a little off. For food, he's brought a bunch of cheese and Wonder Bread. Also, he seems slightly lower energy than usual, and at first I don't think too much of it, and we begin our second lesson. He's picking up the screaming techniques and he's been practicing, so he's definitely been making progress. Now don't get me wrong, I was confident in my teaching abilities, but at the same time, I kind of expected him to struggle more. I was conflicted. Yeah, I guess I was on my way to proving my point, but I also thought, wouldn't this be a boring video if he learned to scream too quickly? Also, didn't he say that he struggled with achieving his goals? Maybe if I dug deeper, I could find more places to help him for the video. I was curious what was going on, but I didn't expect the next thing that happened. That night, while grabbing dinner and the cameras were off, he explained to me that he almost didn't come to the lesson today. And when I asked him about what was going on, I was never expecting it to be what I was about to hear. When Angelo told me he struggled with learned helplessness, I knew he said it was bad, but I never realized it was this bad. He told me that he suffers from Crohn's disease, which prevents him from many daily activities, such as work. It also stops him from eating a lot of foods, which explains why he brought grilled cheese. He also revealed to me, when he was younger, his father was abusive, and as a result, him and his family were taken away and put in a safe facility to escape. Since then, he's experienced bouts of derealization, meaning that he would shut down and black memories out. Last but not least, he felt as if he would never be good enough at anything despite trying for long periods of time. And as a result, he developed a habit of giving up when faced with adversity. And as a result of that, he lacks passion and direction in life. To him, it feels like no matter what he tries to do, he felt as if he'd never be good enough. And suddenly, it all made sense. Why his family felt so distant, like they were holding things inside. Why he escaped into anime and music. They were his solace. And why he left so many projects behind. Those were all symbols of his learned helplessness. It was at this point when I realized something. Angelo wanted to learn to scream, but to be honest, he never seemed super interested in it. This had me a bit worried. I was like, did I pick the wrong student to teach? At some point early in the day, Angelo also told me that he really needs help with his songwriting. He told me that he struggles to write songs for his band and his other guitar player does all the writing. I mean, I didn't need to teach him songwriting to prove my point about screaming, but at the same time, it couldn't hurt to teach him that stuff. Also, songwriting was actually my first musical love, so what the hell? Why not? I proposed to him that I would teach him to write a song and we'd perform it at the show. Given that he started to learn screaming a bit too quickly, I think it would actually make for a better video anyway. This was our third lesson. I wanted to do a quick test of his screaming abilities.
You feel like you've gotten stable with that?
Maybe not super stable, but I've been able to like click into it pretty easily, rather than like needing to build up into that feeling. I can almost jump right into it.
Can you say ABC?
I'd felt accomplished. Angelo was screaming not in 30 days, but just around 2 weeks. And this was great. It looked like we were in great shape for the show. Angelo also seemed stoked that he was able to scream in such a short amount of time, but our work from this video was far from over. Now I started helping him write his song. I took some guitar parts he wrote and showed him how to arrange them.
Now this is when the whole vibe changed. I've never seen him like this before. Dude, you could tell something was off.
When we started writing vocals, it's like he shut down, walled off. I couldn't get to him. I felt him get blocked and nothing was coming out. I didn't know how to respond, so I changed the subject.
Hey, is your band show ready?
He seemed to think so, but he also said that he spoke with his drummer, and his drummer said absolutely not. I was starting to feel anxious. Was this video even gonna turn out? This seemed weird to me that Angelo and his drummer had completely different opinions. However, I know that a lot of times musicians tend to be perfectionists. Angelo's drummer was probably being just too critical of himself, I suggested to Angelo, well, why don't I sit in on your band practice in 2 days?
Hello. Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, what's up?
Hey, what's up? Hey, David, nice to meet you. Caesar, good to meet you. Nice to meet you. All right.
Gabe.
David, nice to meet you.
No, Gabe.
Oh, Gabe?
Gabe.
Okay. Hey, Dylan, David, nice to meet you. David, nice to meet you. Fuck yeah.
The first thing I wanted to do was to surprise his band with Angelo's new screams.
So have you guys heard Angelo scream before? Never. No, never. Okay, so this is, keep in mind, Angelo didn't know how to scream before this. This is with 3 weeks. 3 weeks. So.
Seeing their reactions was getting me fucking hyped. I was like, whoa, this is shaping up to be quite the transformation. I couldn't wait until we could show this off at the upcoming show. Yo, in my mind, I was already imagining Angelo just taking the stage and letting out this brutal scream and the audience just being like, whoa, and a mosh pit forming. I could just imagine every metalhead sharing this video with all their buddies. I pictured my old teacher finally acknowledging that I can teach. I can imagine people being like, oh, where did he learn that scream? He must have had a talented and handsome vocal coach. I was getting swept up into my fantasy until I watched them play. When I clocked back into reality, it became very clear to me that these guys were not prepared. They didn't even remember how their own songs went.
Just by thinking we're getting there.
You guys think you're only 80% there, like 75% there?
I say 60 because I still don't have lyrics for a lot of these songs yet.
Oh, okay, got it. One thing that helped our band a lot is like getting on a click. Like, have you guys experimented doing that? Not with that vibe?
We just haven't. No.
I put them on a metronome and they struggled to stay on time with that as well. I felt a pit in my stomach. I assumed that everyone can play to a metronome. Is rhythm something that could be taught? I also asked, by the way, where's your main vocalist? They told me that since they don't have a bassist, Gabe, who's their vocalist, had to step down and assume bass duties temporarily. In other words, the band was missing members. Not to mention, the ability to pull off a good show was largely dependent on how much they trusted me. You see, Gabe and Dylan, the drummer, seemed extremely skeptical about the changes I was recommending. After all, I was an outsider coming in and making changes to their craft.
Tell us about the video that you had.
Oh yeah, so absolutely. So pretty much, I'm not sure how much the Angels told you guys about it. Zero? Really?
I started thinking, would they accept a song that Angelo and I wrote for them? Would we even be able to finish the song in time? Where would they find a bassist? Would Angelo be confident to scream these songs live? And would we be able to fix all this by the show? That night, when I got home, I got the final blow. The promoter who had booked the show told me that the show was canceled. What was I even doing all this for? The universe does not want this to happen. This band probably thinks I'm just trying to boss them around, and this video might flop on top of that. I thought, fuck man, you know what? Let's just give up. The next morning, I would message Angelo and tell him that I was calling the whole thing off. I felt like I was being selfish and using Angelo for my personal gain. I thought, maybe my teacher was right. Maybe I'm just a scam who's unethical and all I care about is money. The next morning, I woke up and checked my phone and saw that Angelo sent me a message that really made me stop and think.
Hey, David, here's some lyrics I wrote.
I'm just angry. Nothing comes out right, or never comes out at all. I say things I don't mean, or I say nothing at all. I don't mean anything. I don't mean any harm. I just want to be happy. I just want to feel positive. I don't enjoy anything. I don't like anything. Nothing's interesting to me anymore. Nothing's fun. Nothing's moving. Numb.
Reading these lyrics sparked something inside of me.
Not a lot of people know this, but back when I was a kid, my mom's ex-boyfriend violently beat her and she was hospitalized. And he sexually abused me when I was 5 to 10. And that taught me that I had no control over anything in life, and everything I loved would be taken away. I'd walk around in middle school and high school in a complete daze and come back home to numb myself by watching and drawing anime. My room actually looked a lot like Angelo's, and life was really gray. How could I have made these initial judgments of Angelo when I was him years ago? It's only when I got into metal that it woke me the fuck up from that daze. Now, life was in color. This music blew my mind and invigorated me. It was this passion for music that made me want to dedicate myself to becoming a songwriter and a musician in a band. But it was also the thing that led me to my first crushing defeat when I spent thousands of dollars trying to release my first EP only for it to come out terribly. I felt like all the months and dollars I spent trying to record something personal to me ended up becoming a dumpster fire. I remember feeling like just giving up and abandoning not just music, but my future passions. Like, if I can't do this and I put my everything into it, I probably can't do anything. But there are a few people that really inspired me to just keep trying. I would watch my guitar player friend Scott put in daily work. I learned what having a solid work ethic truly meant because I watched an interview where my idol at the time, Matt Heafy, said that he would spend 6 hours a day playing guitar. If only Angelo had a Scott or a Matt in his life. But now, every day when I got back from school, I would lock myself in my room, strip into my boxers for some reason, and yes, watch my fair share of hentai. But most importantly, I'd practice guitar for 6 hours a day. I learned to practice so much that my insecurities and traumatic past were drowned out by the sounds of guitar scales and screaming practice. I would practice songwriting every single day without stopping and try to write a better album. And I learned not to focus on the outputs, but to focus on the inputs, the hard work. And this would eventually lead to good outputs. Now, when I used this new work ethic, this allowed me to finally nail sweep picking. This allowed me to tour internationally. This allowed me to finally scream. And this also allowed me to write an album that many metal outlets would recognize as one of the best of the year.
maybe the same things stopping Angelo from succeeding were the same things stopping a younger version of me from succeeding. I realized I was being selfish. How could I stop this project because I felt overwhelmed by Angelo's situation? I was now driven to help Angelo. It wasn't about the video or proving anybody wrong, it was much bigger than that. Because if we do the show, it might inspire him to take back control of his life. So let's fucking go. I then talked to the promoter about rescheduling the show.
Okay, so just double checking. Is there no other show that we can book on? Oh, there is one. Okay, tell me about it.
I was just hoping to get something, but to my surprise, we got an even better show offer opening for a band that was signed to one of the biggest metal labels out there. The universe was aligning.
Yes. No. Actually, we'd love to play. I'll make sure that the rest of the guys are available. We're gonna bring a lot of people, and this is gonna be a really good show. Thank you so much.
I called a meeting with Haunted Mask and told them, I'm gonna fill in on bass. I'm gonna learn all of your songs and I'll be the missing member for your show. Dylan started practicing to a metronome and began to get tighter and tighter with his drumming. Gabe buckled down and started finishing lyrics to their songs. I would also spend more nights writing with Angelo, really workshopping his screaming techniques and writing chops. This also meant that my fridge was getting filled with grilled cheese sandwiches left and right. Angelo also started overcoming his writer's block. He started coming up with some awesome vocal ideas.
I did find that if I take the nothing ever comes out right, and I stretch that, it sounds and sits better to me.
Yeah, I like it. We started meeting up every week for band practice to iron out the set list and improve our stage presence. The date of the show kept looming closer and closer. There's a bunch of people there. I could tell that the guys were nervous. This was their first show after all. I pulled Angelo aside and asked him,
How are you feeling about tonight?
Good. Very nervous.
What are you nervous about?
Just not.
I don't know.
I called the guys in for a huddle. Remember, this is the part where we have fun. We put in all the practice. Now it's our job to just enjoy tonight. I look back at Gabe and we smile at each other.
I look back at Dylan and he's crushing his parts like a boss. But now it was time for Angelo to shine.
I think 16.
Yeah.
And again, those were the times where I was trying, those years, and nothing came of it.
What did I learn from this process? It's shown me just how much like actually planning things and having a schedule and just being coordinated actually will help you to get something done. I was so set in ways of just trying something at a random time of the day, just not really having a plan, and of course, it not really going anywhere. Again, yeah, this has shown me that, proper guidance as you give me. I've learned a lot with it.
While I was on stage, I looked out into the sea of lights and the audience. There were people from my old band, reminders from back when I went through my story. Angelo's friends and family were there. It seemed like he was screaming out his declaration of change to them, ensuring that he would change. When I first set out on this adventure, it was about proving one of my old vocal coaches wrong and getting views for my channel.
But as I work with Angelo, I found the reason for overcoming my learned helplessness, so I could help others and not just myself. Because when I looked at Angelo, I saw a dude with a big heart that went through some shit I couldn't imagine. Crohn's, dissociation, parent violence. But somehow I still felt like I could relate. And he just needed help from someone who's also been there. And I want to let you know that whatever you're dealing with, I promise you, others have gone through it too. Doesn't that give you hope to know that you're not alone and others have won the same battles? But ultimately, you have to make the decision. Whether or not you let your past define you, that is up to you. So in this video, I didn't go into the specifics about screaming technique and exercises and stuff like that. So if you want to learn more about that stuff, then click on this video right here and I'll see you inside. Thanks for watching. Peace.